Let's just jump right into it. In this explainer, we are unpacking the massive, sprawling sweep of human history. And look, we're not just going to sit here going over a dry list of facts and dates, okay? We're exploring the history of the world as this escalating, deeply dramatic cycle of incredible ambition and profound struggle. Literally from the very first civilizations all the way to the modern era. Our ancestors have been driven by this insatiable desire to build, to conquer, and to somehow figure out the universe.
So the really crucial point here is how that relentless drive continuously birthed new, devastating challenges. It's wild to think about, but every single time we solved one massive problem, our own ambition just created an entirely new set of hurdles. We didn't just passively experience history, we actively forged it. And we did that through a desperate struggle to survive the exact systems, empires, and technologies that we ourselves created. It's a thrilling narrative, so let's get into how it all actually started.
Right from the dawn of humanity, our ambition drastically shifted. We went from simply hunting and gathering to tackling the monumental challenge of agriculture. But here's the thing. To farm, you absolutely need to predict the seasons. You literally need to control time itself. And that required early humans to start tracking lunar and solar cycles. We can actually see the evidence of this profound ambition in artifacts like the roughly 20,000-year-old Ishango bone, and later in these massive, mind-boggling monuments like Stonehenge. Humanity was literally trying to calculate the rhythms of the cosmos just to survive. Now, it's fascinating because this early ambition immediately brought on some serious struggles. Take the Sumerians, for example, who settled in cities like Uruk way back around 4000 BCE. They established these foundational legal systems like Hammurabi's Code just to maintain order. But the struggle? That code enforced brutal social hierarchies through incredibly severe punishments. Meanwhile, you've got the Egyptians directing just unimaginable resources and labor into building massive pyramids, all to ensure their pharaohs attain immortality. And over in the East, early Chinese civilizations showed this incredible ambition by settling the extremely dangerous floodplains of the Yellow River. They battled devastating floods just to survive, which ultimately led to the hereditary dynastic system. As civilization advanced, philosophical and political ambition evolved right along with it. In ancient Greece, this created a pretty dramatic clash of ideals. On one side, Sparta focused all its ambition on creating this harsh, rigid, highly disciplined military society. But then, on the exact opposite side of the spectrum, Athens ambitiously experimented with early ideological forms of democracy. Both of these approaches were genuine attempts to build the ultimate society, and yet both generated their own completely unique internal and external struggles. Moving into the classical era, we see these massive, globe-spanning power grabs. Alexander the Great aggressively conquered vast territories, totally driven by the ambition to spread Greek culture across the known world. Then you have Rome, violently transforming from a localized republic into an autocratic, sprawling empire under figures like Julius Caesar and Augustus. Over in China, Qin Shi Huang's ambition led him to conquer warring states, unify the country as its first true emperor, and actually kick off work on the monumental Great Wall. And soon after, the Han Dynasty established the Silk Road, which ambitiously connected China all the way to the Mediterranean for unprecedented cultural and economic trade. It was a complete game changer. Look at how rapidly global power shifted during the Middle Ages. I mean, it's lightning speed. After the Western Roman Empire fell in 476 AD, Europe entered this feudal system, heavily dominated by the absolute power of the Catholic Church. But the drama certainly doesn't stop there. We see the explosive 7th century rise and rapid expansion of Islam, uniting the Arabian Peninsula and stretching into this vast empire from Spain all the way to China. Then, starting in 793 AD, Europe faced centuries of brutal Viking raids. And by the 13th century, human ambition took the form of Genghis Khan. He ruthlessly united nomadic tribes to forge the massive Mongol Empire, conquering territory from the Sea of Japan all the way over to the Caspian Sea. Section 2. Revolutions, Reason, and Industry. The pendulum swings toward modernity. So between the 14th and 17th centuries, the Renaissance sparked this massive revival of classical knowledge. It encouraged rational thought and challenged the absolute authority of the church. Now, this newfound rationalism paved the way for major political upheavals, but the ambitious pursuit of liberty manifested in completely different ways. In 1776, the American Revolution established a new republic that was fundamentally based on the concept of inherent human rights. But just a few years later, in 1789, the French Revolution sought similar ideals of liberty and equality, but their struggle involved violently dismantling an entrenched absolute monarchy. Both were entirely driven by Enlightenment ambition, but the paths they took were dramatically different. Meanwhile, our entire material reality transformed. The Industrial Revolution, which was driven by geography, coal, iron, and the totally game-changing steam engine, achieved an exponential increase in production and global wealth like we had never seen before. But, as you might guess, that massive ambition came with a really dark struggle. We're talking severe social inequalities, absolutely horrific labor conditions, and aggressive European imperialism as nations desperately scoured the globe for raw materials and new markets. And that aggressive nationalism and militarism, fueled by the industrial age, ended up igniting a devastating new fire, World War I. This was a global conflict driven by an incredibly complex web of alliances. The scale of the destruction was just unprecedented, and it resulted in the sudden, chaotic collapse of four major global empires. And the way that war was resolved? Well, it essentially set the stage for the next terrible struggle. The harsh Treaty of Versailles placed the sole blame and massive crushing economic burdens squarely on Germany. 20. That's it. It took a mere 20 years for the devastating economic conditions of the Treaty of Versailles to pave the way for the rise of Adolf Hitler. In just 2 short decades, the unresolved struggles of the First World War plunged the entire globe right back into the darkness, erupting into the catastrophic violence of World War II. World War II finally came to a close in 1945, but it was punctuated by the ultimate and, frankly, most terrifying realization of human scientific ambition: the United States dropping atomic bombs on Japan. This ended the immediate global war, but, as we've seen literally throughout this entire history, the end of one struggle simply births another. The fallout of 1945 left a fractured world with only 2 dominant global superpowers still standing: the United States and the Soviet Union. Our technological ambition culminated in a terrifying new reality: mutually assured destruction. The constant, looming threat of complete nuclear annihilation dictated a decades-long Cold War. It was this intense ideological battle between American capitalism and Soviet communism. And because direct conflict would literally mean the end of the world, this struggle was fought out in the shadows, and through incredibly devastating proxy conflicts in nations like Korea and Vietnam, right up until the Soviet Union finally collapsed economically and politically in 1991. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to think about the journey we've just taken. You are the direct result of a relentless millennia-long cycle. From those early agriculturalists tracking the moon, all the way to the architects of the Cold War, our ancestors survived empires, plagues, and world wars to get us to this exact moment. Our ambition is honestly greater than ever, but so are the stakes. So I leave you with this question: what will be the next chapter in our saga? How are we going to balance our incredible ambition with the struggles of tomorrow? Keep questioning, keep learning, and thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey through human